The sight that greeted Captain Belos on the bridge of the Zephyr left him and the crew in a state of shock and disbelief. Images filled the holographic displays, showing sprawling ruins across a distant planet's surface. But these weren't just any alien ruins. The towering megalithic structures bore an uncanny resemblance to early human architecture. "Captain, you need to see this," First Officer Zahn said, his voice tight. Belos stepped closer to the displays, his mouth going dry. He zoomed in on the scans, revealing intricate details that were hauntingly familiar. Massive pyramids, crumbling temples, eroded statues bearing human-like features. Science Officer Kelloff spoke up, excitement and confusion warring in his tone. "Sir, I've cross-referenced these structures with our limited data on early human civilizations. The similarities are striking, but that's impossible. We're in an uncharted sector, light years from Earth. No human could have reached this planet when these ruins were built." A heavy silence fell over the bridge as the implications sank in. Belos felt a chill run through him, despite the regulated temperature. If the ruins were truly of human origin, it would mean that humans achieved interstellar travel long before the Hazari or any known species. The history of the galaxy itself would have to be rewritten. Belos clenched his fists, a sense of destiny taking hold. "Prep a landing party. I want our top researchers and a security detail assembled in the hangar in 10 cycles. If there's a chance these ruins are connected to humans, we can't afford to miss this opportunity." As the crew scrambled to action, Belos couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of a discovery that could change everything. The mysteries hidden on that desolate world could hold the key to humanity's past and the galaxy's future. But what price would they pay for uncovering those secrets? Only one thing was certain. As the Zephyr descended through the planet's thin atmosphere, the ruins growing larger on the view screens. The Hazari had always considered themselves the most advanced species, the shepherds of galactic progress. But if the scattered monuments below were any indication, they had vastly underestimated the humans. And that could be a deadly mistake. The ship settled onto the barren ground with a thud, kicking up clouds of ancient dust. Belos checked the readouts on his wrist computer. Breathable air, tolerable radiation levels, no signs of life. A dead world with only the crumbling bones of a once great civilization. He strode toward the hangar, the anticipation building in his veins. Uncovering the truth had become more than just a scientific imperative. It was a necessity for the Hazari's survival. Because if they had been wrong about humanity's origins and capabilities, what other assumptions might be fatally flawed? As the hangar doors opened, revealing the alien landscape beyond, Belos knew one thing with unshakable certainty. The ruins held answers that could rewrite galactic history, and the Hazari needed those answers, no matter the cost. The future of their civilization, and perhaps the fate of the galaxy itself, depended on what they found in the dust and shadows of this forgotten world. Belos steps out of the Zephyr, his boots crunching on the barren ground. The air is thin and cold, the distant sun providing little warmth. Before him, the ruins of the ancient city stretch out as far as the eye can see. Towering structures of stone and metal loom overhead, their surfaces weathered and pitted by the passage of time. Many have collapsed, leaving jagged stumps and piles of rubble. But some still stand, defiant against the ravages of the centuries. "Incredible," Zahn breathes, his eyes wide with wonder. "I've never seen anything like it." Belos nods, a sense of awe and trepidation warring within him. This is a momentous discovery, one that could change the course of history. But what secrets do these ruins hold, and what dangers might lurk within? He leads the way towards the nearest building, a massive pyramid-like structure that dominates the skyline. As they approach, they see that the walls are covered in intricate carvings and hieroglyphs. Zahn steps forward, running his fingers over the ancient writing. "This is an early form of human language," he says, his voice trembling with excitement. "I recognize some of the symbols. Give me a moment to decipher it." As Zahn works, Belos and the others explore further. They find more buildings, each one a marvel of engineering and artistry, but there is something eerie about the place, a sense of emptiness and loss that hangs heavy in the air. Suddenly Zahn calls out, "I've got it. The name of this place, it's Arcturus, and there's more. It says that the people who built this city came from a distant, dying world. They were the first humans to leave Earth and seek a new home among the stars." Belos feels a chill run down his spine. The implications are staggering. If this is true, then humans achieved interstellar travel far earlier than anyone had ever imagined. But what happened to them? Why did their civilization fall? As if in answer to his unspoken question, a shout echoes from deeper within the ruins. Lieutenant Rask, one of the security officers, waves them over. "Captain, I think you need to see this." They rush to his location and find themselves standing before a massive chamber. In the center, a holographic projection flickers to life. It coalesces into the image of a man, his face stern and lined with age. "Greetings," the hologram says, its voice thin and static-filled. "I am Elias Vega, the last Prime Minister of Arcturus. If you are seeing this, then our worst fears have come to pass, and our civilization has fallen." Vega goes on to explain the history of Arcturus, how they once thrived on this world, but were ultimately brought low by a series of cataclysmic events, including a war with an aggressive alien species. In a last-ditch effort to preserve their legacy, they hid their most precious artifacts and records in stasis chambers beneath the city. "Remember us," Vega pleads as the hologram fades. "Remember that we were once a proud and mighty people. Let our story be a warning to those who come after." Silence falls over the chamber as the team tries to process what they have just learned. Belos feels a weight settle on his shoulders. This discovery will change everything, but it also raises more questions than answers. He is about to give orders to search the ruins further when his comm crackles to life. "Captain, this is the Zephyr. We've detected an unknown vessel entering the system. It's moving into orbit above the planet. Your orders?" Belos feels a sense of unease. Who could have followed them here, and what do they want? He has a feeling that the answers they seek may be more dangerous than they ever imagined. "Understood, Zephyr," he says, his voice grim. "Keep monitoring the situation. We'll continue our search down here, but be ready to extract us at a moment's notice. Something tells me this is not nearly finished." The ground trembled beneath their feet as the unknown ship touched down near the ruins. Captain Belos's comm crackled with urgent reports from his security team. "Unknown vessel landed 500 meters northeast, sir. No signs of hostility yet." He turned to Dr. Zahn, who was furiously scanning the hieroglyphs on the chamber walls. "Anything new?" Before Zahn could respond, a deep voice boomed from the shadows. "Your presence here is a violation of Kryn sovereign territory." Belos spun, hand instinctively reaching for his sidearm. A towering figure stepped into view, clad in gleaming armor, adorned with intricate patterns. The being's face was hidden behind an ornate mask, but its eyes glowed with an unsettling intensity. "I am Zoltar, Warmaster of the Kryn Empire," the figure announced in an archaic Hazari dialect. "You will surrender all artifacts and data collected from these ruins immediately." Belos's mind reeled. The Kryn? Here. He took a steadying breath. "I am Captain Belos of the Hazari Exploration Fleet. We mean no disrespect to your people, Warmaster. These ruins hold knowledge that could benefit all species. Surely we can—" "Silence!" Zoltar's voice echoed through the chamber. "The legacy of Arcturus belongs to the Kryn alone. Comply, or we will reduce your ship and these ruins to ash." The air grew thick with tension. Belos opened his mouth to respond, when a low rumble shook the floor. A seam appeared in the stonework, widening to reveal a staircase descending into darkness. "The stasis chamber," Zahn whispered, eyes wide. Belos made a split-second decision. "Dr. Zahn, with me, Security Team Alpha, hold this position." They plunged into the depths, the sounds of conflict fading behind them. The staircase opened into a vast underground complex. Rows of sleek metallic pods lined the walls, each containing perfectly preserved Arcturan artifacts. "Incredible," Zahn breathed, running his scanner over a nearby console. "Captain, look at this." A holographic display flickered to life, showing a star map dotted with glowing points. Other human colonies, Belos realized, spread across the galaxy. As they frantically gathered data, Belos's comm chirped. "Captain Kryn forces are advancing. The Zephyr reports enemy ships in orbit." Belos cursed. They were out of time. "Download everything you can, Doctor. We need to find a way to end this conflict before—" A distant explosion rocked the complex. Dust rained from the ceiling as the battle above intensified. "Sir," Zahn's voice was urgent. "There's more here. Records of the Arcturans' fall. It wasn't just the alien war. There was infighting and some kind of planetary disaster." Belos nodded grimly. History repeating itself. "We need to get this information out, show both sides what's at stake." They raced back towards the surface, arms laden with priceless artifacts and data drives. The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance, with the secrets of humanity's ancient past caught in the crossfire. As they emerged into chaos, Belos knew the real challenge was just beginning. The ground shook as explosions rocked the planet's surface. Captain Belos steadied himself against a console, his fingers flying over the controls as he frantically downloaded terabytes of Arcturan data. Beside him, Jerry Perry, the young human archaeologist, pored over the streams of information flooding their screens. "Captain, look at this," Jerry exclaimed, his eyes wide with excitement. "These records, they're detailing an ancient war between the Arcturans and the Kryn." As they delved deeper into the archives, a tragic story unfolded. The Arcturans had tried to broker peace, offering a treaty to end the bloodshed. But before it could be signed, everything fell apart. Jerry's hands trembled as he read the final entries. A rogue Kryn faction sabotaged the peace talks. The resulting battle, it wiped out the Arcturans entirely. Belos's calm crackled to life, filling the chamber with the sounds of orbital combat. Jerry's face set with grit. "Captain, we need to contact Zoltar. This information could stop the fighting." Nodding grimly, Belos patched through to the Zephyr. "Bridge, get me a direct line to the Kryn commander." Moments later, Zoltar's imposing visage filled their screen. Jerry stepped forward, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "War Master Zoltar, we've uncovered the truth about your people's ancient conflict with the Arcturans. It was all based on a misunderstanding, and your ancestors nearly made peace before tragedy struck." Jerry laid out the evidence, appealing to Zoltar's sense of honor. "You have a chance to right an ancient wrong, to forge the peace that was lost so long ago." Silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. Finally, Zoltar spoke, his voice heavy with the weight of history. "Cease fire. I will meet with you in the ruins." The tension in the air was palpable, as Zoltar's massive form filled the doorway of the underground chamber. Belos and Jerry led him to a pristine stasis pod, its surface shimmering with an otherworldly light. "Within this pod," Jerry explained, "lies the original peace treaty between your peoples, a symbol of what could have been and what still might be." Zoltar's eyes widened as he beheld the ancient document. His voice, when he spoke, was filled with a mixture of awe and regret. "For centuries we have carried the burden of this conflict, never knowing its true origins. Perhaps it is time to lay that burden down." As the ceasefire held, Belos and Jerry pored over the star map they'd discovered. Jerry's finger traced the glowing points scattered across the galactic arm. Each of these could be another lost human colony, the answers we seek about humanity's past. They're out there, waiting to be found. Zoltar approached, his hulking form casting a shadow over the holographic display. "You will need aid in this quest. The Kryn Empire stands ready to assist, in the spirit of the peace we should have achieved long ago." Belos nodded, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Then let us embark on this journey together. There are mysteries waiting to be unraveled, and a shared history to be discovered." As the Zephyr and the Kryn vessels broke orbit, setting course for the nearest point on the ancient star map, Jerry couldn't help but feel a thrill of excitement. They were venturing into the unknown, chasing the echoes of humanity's forgotten past across the stars. The bridge of the Zephyr hummed with activity as crew members prepared for the jump to light speed. Belos stood at the helm, his eyes fixed on the interface as the stars began to blur. Whatever lay ahead, whatever truths they might uncover, one thing was certain: the Mwah. The stars streaked past the viewport as the Zephyr hurtled through space. Jerry Perry hunched over a holographic display, his fingers dancing across the interface as he analyzed the ancient star map. Captain Belos leaned in, studying the glowing points scattered across the projection. "There," Jerry said, tapping a pulsing dot. "This planetoid orbiting a dying star, its isolated remote, perfect for a secret Arcturan outpost." Belos nodded, his eyes narrowing. "Agreed. Set course, helmsman." As they approached, the planetoid loomed before them, a desolate rock shrouded in an eerie blue glow. Zoltar's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, our sensors detect powerful energy signatures, ancient shielding technology, still active after all this time." Jerry's eyes widened. "Incredible, but how do we get through?" For hours they brainstormed, poring over schematics and sensor data. Finally, Jerry snapped his fingers. "What if we use the Zephyr's tractor beams to create a resonance frequency, combined with a focused sensor pulse?" Zoltar's deep voice rumbled with approval. "Yes, and I can provide tactical data from our archives to refine the approach." They worked in tandem, Hazari and Kryn technology meshing seamlessly. The shield flickered, wavered, and for a brief moment, a gap appeared. In a flash of light, the away team materialized inside the facility. Jerry blinked, his eyes adjusting to the dim interior. Layers of reinforced uranium alloy surrounded them, the air stale and heavy with the weight of centuries. As they moved through silent corridors, evidence of the past assaulted their senses. Scorch marks marred the walls, the acrid scent of ancient weapons fire lingering in the air. Jerry's foot crunched on something. He looked down to see a fragment of bone, bleached white with age. They rounded a corner and froze. The desiccated remains of an Arcturan soldier slumped against the wall, bony fingers still wrapped around the stock of an archaic plasma rifle. Its empty eye socket stared accusingly at the intruders. Zoltar's massive form tensed. This was one of the last strongholds. They fought to the bitter end. Eventually they reached the central command center. Jerry's breath caught in his throat as he saw the Arcturan officer, sprawled across a control console. Despite the ravages of time, his uniform remained intact, rank insignia glinting dully in the emergency lighting. "The databanks," Belos said urgently. "If they're still functional." Jerry nodded, setting to work. His fingers flew across the ancient interface, fighting against layers of encryption and security protocols. Sweat beaded on his brow as he pushed deeper into the system. Suddenly a piercing wail split the air. Jerry jerked back from the console as if burned. Zoltar's eyes widened in recognition. That sound, as it's an old Kryn battle code, the defense grid. Before they could react, the facility hummed to life around them. Sealed doors hissed open, disgorging a horde of combat drones. Their weapons glowed with deadly energy as they advanced on the intruders. "Jerry, keep working," Belos shouted, drawing his sidearm. "We'll hold them off." The air filled with the sizzle of energy weapons and the clang of metal. Jerry tuned out the chaos, focusing every ounce of his concentration on the task at hand. He drew on every scrap of knowledge from past Arcturan sites, pushing through firewalls and bypassing lockouts. Just as the last drone fell to Zoltar's crushing blow, Jerry let out a triumphant cry. "Got it!" A stream of data flooded into his quantum storage unit. As the team caught their breath, the magnitude of their discovery sank in. They had uncovered a treasure trove of Arcturan military intelligence, perhaps the key to understanding the fall of an entire civilization. As they prepared to leave, Jerry cradled the precious data unit. His mind raced with the possibilities, the secrets waiting to be unlocked. Whatever came next, he knew their journey was far from finished. The Zephyr's engines pulsed as it entered the remote star cluster, the void of space stretching endlessly before them. Jerry Perry stood at the viewport, his breath fogging the reinforced glass as he gazed at the swirling maelstrom ahead. "My God," he whispered, eyes wide, "it's beautiful!" The bridge erupted into a flurry of activity as the crew worked to stabilize their approach. Alarms blared as radiation levels spiked, the ship's hull groaning under the immense forces. Belos leaned over the console, brow furrowed. Impossible. Nothing could survive in there. The captain nodded, understanding. Unless it was built too. He straightened, voice firm. "Helm, initiate precise thruster burns. Get us into a stable orbit around that disk." As they drew closer, the energy readings intensified. Through the chaos of superheated plasma and radiation, the impossible took shape, an artificial structure, embedded within the very fabric of space-time. Zoltar's gravelly voice came over the comm. "Captain Belos, my ships are detecting the anomaly as well. What are your orders?" Belos exchanged a look with Jerry. "We go in, but not with the full crews. Prepare a shuttle." Minutes later, Jerry found himself strapped into a heavily shielded craft alongside Belos, Zoltar, and a small team. As they detached from the Zephyr, the full might of the black hole's gravitational pull became apparent. Warning klaxons blared as they breached the event horizon. Jerry's stomach lurched, his body feeling as if it were being stretched and compressed simultaneously. The shuttle's hull creaked ominously. "We're losing structural integrity," the pilot shouted. "Another minute of this and we'll—" Suddenly everything went still. An eerie calm settled over the cabin as they crossed an invisible threshold, and there, before them, hung an impossibility. A massive ring-shaped structure rotated slowly, its sleek lines defying the chaos around it. Jerry's scientific mind reeled, unable to comprehend the technology required to create such a thing. Sure enough, a vast aperture yawned in the ring's outer hull. As they approached, sensors detected an atmospheric envelope within. With trepidation, they guided the shuttle through. The interior took Jerry's breath away. Sprawling habitats stretched as far as the eye could see, complete with climate controls and water recyclers. But it was the scattered cryostasis chambers that sent a chill down his spine. They approached one, its frosted surface clearing to reveal a desiccated figure inside. Humanoid but clearly ancient, an Arcturan, preserved for eons in this cosmic refuge. Why here? Belos wondered aloud. What could drive them to seek shelter in such a place? As they explored further, evidence of a cataclysmic event became clear. Scorched ruins and hastily constructed shelters told a story of desperation and flight. In the central hub they found him, a withered corpse slumped before a still-functioning data terminal. Jerry's hands shook as he recovered the database core, establishing a quantum link to their shuttle's computers. As encrypted data streamed across the screen, a single word in ancient script stood out. Jerry's eyes widened as the implications sank in. "Captain," he breathed, this changes everything we thought we knew about human history." As they made their way back to the shuttle, the weight of their discovery hung heavy. The secrets of humanity's cosmic past lay before them, waiting to be unraveled, and with it, the power to reshape the very fabric of galactic civilization. The Zephyr shuddered as it pulled away from the black hole's crushing embrace. Jerry's fingers danced across the control panel, securing the precious data they'd recovered. He glanced at Captain Belos, who stood rigid at the helm, plotting their next jump. "Coordinates locked," Belos announced. "Prepare for—" A violent tremor rocked the ship. Alarms blared as the viewscreen filled with a colossal shape, materializing from the void. Jerry's breath caught in his throat. The vessel before them dwarfed the Zephyr, its sleek lines hinting at devastating firepower. "Evasive maneuvers," Belos barked, but it was too late. A crackling transmission cut through the chaos. "Unidentified vessels. This is Admiral Kerek of the Free Human Armada. Stand down and prepare to be boarded." Jerry's eyes widened. "Human," he whispered, scarcely believing his ears. Belos and Zoltar exchanged glances. The Kryn leader's voice rumbled over the comm. "We have little choice, Captain. We cannot hope to outrun or outfight such a force." Moments later, The Zephyr's flight deck swarmed with armored figures. Their weapons hummed with lethal energy as they secured the area. Jerry's heart pounded as he watched a massive figure stride through the airlock. Admiral Kirak towered over them all. His battle-scarred armor gleamed under the harsh lights, and his oversized plasma rifle looked like a toy in his massive hands. As the helmet retracted, Jerry gasped. The man's face was a roadmap of scars and hard-won experience, his eyes burning with an intensity that made Jerry want to shrink away. Jerry opened his mouth to speak, but Kirak silenced him with a raised hand. When the Admiral spoke, his words came in a guttural, archaic form of English that sent shivers down Jerry's spine. "You'll tread the path of the ancients," Kirak intoned. "We know what you seek, for we too have seen the ruins that belch forth whispers of humanity's glorious cosmic dawn." As Kirak continued, Jerry listened in awe. The Admiral spoke of a lost human colony, forced to carve out an existence in the harshest reaches of space. He told of generations spent chasing whispers and legends, all in pursuit of something called the Omega Point, a convergence of technology and metaphysics that could usher in a new era for humanity. When Jerry tried to explain their own mission, Kirak's piercing gaze silenced him. The Admiral's voice grew cold. "You may walk the same path, but make no mistake, the legacy of the ancients belongs to humanity alone. Your alien allies can never be trusted with such power." Kirak's ultimatum rang out in the tense silence. "Surrender all Arcturan data to us now, or face the consequences of defying humanity's true inheritors." Jerry's mind raced. He glanced at Belos, whose hand hovered near his sidearm, then at Zoltar, whose massive form seemed to vibrate with barely contained fury. The weight of the moment pressed down on him. One wrong move could ignite a war that would consume not just their expedition, but entire civilizations. In that moment, Jerry understood. The secrets they sought weren't just scientific curiosities or historical footnotes. They were the keys to humanity's future, a future that now teetered on the edge of a knife. He took a deep breath, acutely aware of the heavily armed Marines surrounding them, of the Titanic warship looming outside. Whatever he said next would shape the course of human history across the stars. The ghosts of the past whispered in his ear, urging him to find a way to preserve the Arcturans' dream of peace and enlightenment. Jerry's shoulders sagged with relief as the immediate threat of violence dissipated. The acrid smell of ozone from charged weapons lingered in the air as Kirak's Marines lowered their rifles. Zoltar's massive form relaxed, his taloned fingers uncurling from the grip of his plasma rifle. Admiral Kirak's weathered face creased in a frown as he studied the holographic display Jerry had conjured. He leaned in, eyes narrowing at the image of the desiccated Arcturan corpse. "By the void," Kirak muttered. "I've seen ruins like this before, out on the fringes of known space." Jerry's eyebrows shot up. "You have? Where?" Kirak's gaze snapped back to Jerry, suspicion warring with curiosity. "That's not information I share lightly, alien." Captain Belos stepped forward, his voice steady. "Admiral, please, we're all explorers here, seeking the same truths. What harm could come from pooling our knowledge?" The bridge fell silent as Kirak considered. The only sound was the soft hum of the Zephyr's systems and the barely audible breathing of the tense crew members. Jerry opened his mouth to protest, but Belos cut him off with a sharp look. "Agreed, Admiral. Lead the way." As they filed towards the airlock, Jerry felt a rush of trepidation. He clutched the data core to his chest, acutely aware of its value. Zoltar fell into step beside him, the Kryn's bulk oddly reassuring. Jerry nodded. "Neither do I, but what choice do we have?" They emerged into the cavernous docking bay of Kirak's vessel. Jerry's eyes widened at the sheer scale of the ship. Rows of sleek fighters lined the walls, and armored personnel scurried about like ants. Kirak led them to a secured briefing room. As the door hissed shut behind them, he activated a holographic display that filled the center of the room. Jerry leaned in, studying the swirling gases and gravitational anomalies depicted in the hologram. "That's on the other side of the galaxy from where we were. The Arcturans' influence spread further than we imagined." Belos stroked his chin thoughtfully. "Did you recover any data from the site, Admiral?" Kirak's eyes narrowed. "Some, but it was fragmented, corrupted. We've spent years trying to decipher it." Jerry's fingers itched to access the data core he carried. "Perhaps if we combined our findings—" He trailed off as Kirak's hand drifted to his sidearm. The Admiral's voice was cold. "Not so fast, alien. I haven't forgotten your earlier words about cooperation, but trust is earned, not given." Jerry nodded slowly, acutely aware of the delicate balance they walked. "Of course, Admiral, but surely there's some common ground we can find, a way to work together without compromising security?" Kirak's weathered face creased in thought. The silence stretched, broken only by the soft beeping of the holographic display. "There might be a way," Kirak said finally. "But it will require sacrifice from all of us." The Leviathan's engines thrummed as it led the Allied fleet through the final jump. Jerry's stomach lurched, his body momentarily feeling as if it were turned inside out. As reality reasserted itself, he blinked away the disorientation and focused on the screen. Twin suns blazed before them, their fierce light bathing the bridge in an eerie, pulsating glow. Between the stars hung the Arcology, its vast structure dwarfing even Kirak's imposing warship. "By the void," Belos whispered, his eyes wide. "It's beautiful." Jerry nodded, speechless. The station was a marvel of engineering, its gleaming spires and intricate latticework defying conventional understanding of materials science. As they drew closer, he could make out vast biodomes and what looked like entire cities nestled within the structure's framework. Kirak's gruff voice cut through the awed silence. "All ships maintain formation. Sensor sweeps detecting no signs of active defenses, but stay alert." Jerry turned to the tactical display, watching as the fleet spread out according to their plan. Belos's science team was already transmitting data requests, probing the Arcology's dormant systems for weaknesses. Zoltar's Kryn cruisers took up flanking positions, their weapons charged and ready. "Admiral," Jerry said, his voice tight with anticipation, "I'm picking up faint power signatures from multiple sections of the station. It's powering up." Kirak leaned forward, his scarred face bathed in the glow of holographic readouts. "Impossible, after all this time?" Before anyone could respond, a shimmering energy field flickered to life around the Arcology. Jerry's console erupted with warnings as unknown energies washed over their ships. "We're being scanned," Belos shouted. "Some kind of quantum resonance technology. I've never seen anything like it." Jerry's fingers flew over his controls, trying to make sense of the flood of data. "It's not just scanning us," he realized with growing dread. "It's interfacing with our systems."
As it punctuated his words, the lights on the bridge flickered. Without stopping them, Jerry thought they were about to lose power entirely. Then, with a surge of energy, holographic displays sprang to life all around them.
An androgynous voice, at once alien and hauntingly familiar, filled the air. "Welcome, children of Earth and her colonies. We have awaited your return." Jerry exchanged stunned looks with Kirak and Belos. The voice continued, its tone shifting to one of urgency. "But you must act quickly. The key approaches, and with it, a threat beyond your comprehension." "What key?" Kirak demanded, his hand instinctively moving to his sidearm. "What threat?" The voice seemed to hesitate, as if weighing how much to reveal. "The Omega Point is both salvation and destruction. You have taken the first steps on a path that will remake the very fabric of reality." Jerry's mind reeled, struggling to process the implications. He opened his mouth to ask for clarification, but a violent tremor rocked the ship before he could speak. "Alert!" Zoltar's voice boomed over the comm. "Unknown vessels emerging from subspace." The viewscreen shifted, revealing a swarm of sleek, predatory ships unlike anything Jerry had ever seen. They moved with impossible speed and precision, their hulls seeming to shimmer and shift, as if not fully anchored in reality. "Defensive positions," Kirak roared, all thoughts of the mysterious voice forgotten. "All ships prepare for combat." Jerry's world twisted and warped, reality itself seeming to bend around him. One moment he stood on the arcology's gleaming hull. The next, he found himself in a vast chamber that defied comprehension. Impossibly angled corridors stretched in every direction, their walls shimmering with ethereal light. Jerry's team materialized beside him, their faces slack with awe and confusion. What is this place?" Lieutenant Voss whispered, her voice trembling. Jerry shook his head, struggling to process the alien geometry surrounding them. "I don't know, but we're inside the arcology somehow." He tapped his comm unit, but only static answered. The team was cut off from the fleet, alone in this mind-bending labyrinth. As they cautiously explored, Jerry noticed subtle shifts in the environment. Walls seemed to ripple and flow, corridors reconfiguring themselves with each step. It was as if the entire structure was alive, responding to their presence. "Look!" Sergeant Keeve pointed to a series of glowing symbols etched into a nearby surface. The alien script pulsed with an inner light, rearranging itself before their eyes. Jerry approached, drawn by an inexplicable familiarity. As he reached out to touch the symbols, a jolt of energy surged through him. Images flooded his mind. Star maps, equations, glimpses of technologies beyond imagining. He staggered back, gasping. I think I understood some of that. It's like the arcology was communicating directly with my brain." "I think it wants us to go that way," Jerry said, his voice barely above a whisper. They advanced cautiously, senses on high alert. The corridor led them to a vast spherical chamber. At its center hovered a pulsating orb of energy, tendrils of light reaching out in all directions. Jerry felt an overwhelming pull towards the orb. As he approached, voices echoed in his mind, countless alien tongues speaking in unison. "The key approaches," they whispered. "The Omega Point awaits." Suddenly the chamber shuddered. Through newly formed apertures, Jerry saw flashes of familiar shapes, Kryn warbrids being drawn into the arcology's embrace. "We're not alone anymore," he said, turning to his team, "but I don't think that's going to make things any easier." The pulsating orb flared, bathing them in otherworldly light. Jerry knew they stood on the precipice of a discovery that would reshape the very foundations of reality. But as the alien voices grew louder in his mind, he couldn't shake the feeling that they might have stumbled into something far beyond their ability to control. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.